Thank you very much for tuning in. We're going to talk a little bit about a demographic analysis of a multi-generational family. And these are people that we know, right? So we've had the obituary. When we put the obituary into the analysis, right? We analyze the obituary, right? We're going to get this report's going to get spit out, right? So we're going to read it. This report examines the demographic progression of a family across 3 generations, right? So the purpose is to analyze the observed pattern of descendants and compare it with a theoretical growth that could have occurred under sustained high fertility conditions. In other words, if these goons hadn't have interfered with the reproduction of these people, right? Personal testimony from a family member establishes that at least one induced abortion occurred. And so there was at least one, but there was more, but there was at least one abortion, right? Taxpayer funded abortion that we have to pay the taxes, and the taxes go for the abortion, and this has occurred within the family line. So this report considers that fact while recognizing that the complete reproductive history of all family members is not known. So the family structure. So the matriarch of the family, right? This is the grandmother. Grandmother was survived by 8 children. So this lady had 8 children. So there's 8 or more pregnancies, right? Right. If you can, this is a natural thing. One woman having 8, children. Very, very honorable. Very, very, very commendable, right? So these 8 children collectively produced 12 grandchildren. So the next generation produced 6, living or known great grandchildren. So this results in a documented total of 26 direct descendants across 3 generations, consisting of 8 children, 12 grandchildren, and 6 great grandchildren. So the observed fertility pattern. The first generation in this analysis has produced 8 children. However, the second generation produced only 12 collectively, resulting in an average of approximately 1.5 children per individual in the second generation. The third generation, based on available information, has produced 6 children. So, from a demographic perspective, um, this represents a substantial reduction in reproductive output compared to the preceding generation. The family tree expanded, but at a much slower rate than would be expected if each generation had maintained a fertility level similar to that of the original matriarch, or even close. Or let's put it in plain English: if the reproduction had not been interfered with by the government, right? The government is interfering with these people's reproduction, and I don't know why they cannot see it or something, or they believe this is their choice, and they're having, it's not, right? This is not their choosing, right? This is the government interfering with everybody's reproduction. It's quite ghastly, if you can imagine such a ghastly thing, right? This is absolutely ghastly to have the government interfering with the reproduction in comparison with historical high fertility patterns. Historically, many from families in rural North America regularly produced 4, 5, or 6 or more children per household. The if the 8 children of the first generation has had produced 5 children, the family would have approximately 40 grandchildren instead of 12. If those 40 if those 40 grandchildren had likewise averaged 5 children each, the third generation could theoretically have reached approximately 200 great grandchildren, to 200 instead of 6, right? 200 instead of 6. These figures are not prediction of what would have happened, but rather illustrations of the differences between observed family growth and sustained high fertility family growth. If you can see there. So the known reproductive limitation. The family member has personally disclosed that she underwent at least one induced abortion. Right. So this is more than one, but anyway, it's this is known to have occurred. Right. The government actually killed this child in the womb of the mother. Right. It's quite it's quite traumatic to actually understand when this is actually happening, right? This baby deserved and had every right to live, and the government, the government, abortionists, made her believe it's her body, it's her choice, whatever. Yeah, and then they set it up, they paid for the abortion, and the abortion was carried out, and this baby unfortunately died. Right, if you can imagine, at least one, but there's more. But anyway, there's one. At least we know that there's one, and we know that there's more. But going to, just for the purposes of this video, just say there's one, but I know there's more. But anyway, abortions, yeah, these are, what a wonderful thing. Yeah, her body, her choice, right? Yeah. So this establishes that at least one potential descendant was not born to deliberate pregnancy termination, right? The existence of at least one abortion demonstrates that the documented family tree did not represent every conception. uh, so wait a minute. The One more time. The existence of at least one abortion demonstrate that the documented family tree does not represent every conception that occurred within the family line. However, the available evidence does not permit a determination of the total number of abortions, contraceptive interventions, miscarriages, infertility cases, or other factors that may have affected family size. And the limitation of the evidence, right? The family record uh, available for this analysis consists primarily of survivor information and descendant accounts. Such records do not document all pregnancies, conception and miscarriages, stillbirths, infertility issues, contraceptive use, and personal decisions regarding family size or other relevant demographic variables. Consequently, while it is reasonable to conclude that the family could have grown substantially under larger substantially larger. The family could have grown substantially larger under sustained high fertility conditions. It is not possible to determine precisely how many additional descendants would exist today. Right. So the conclusion here: the family examined in this report demonstrates a marked decline in fertility across generations, beginning with a matriarch who produced 8 children. Subsequent generations expanded at a significantly slower rate, resulting in 12 grandchildren and 6 great grandchildren. Personal testimony confirms at least one abortion occurred within the family, meaning that at least one potential descendant was lost to the family line. Nevertheless, the available evidence is insufficient to quantify the total number of descendants that might have existed under different reproductive circumstances. Any estimate beyond the known figures would necessarily involve speculation rather than documented fact. But let's go back here. All right, so let's see. For example, we have even a quarter of this here. Let's say, for example, we got eight children. Like, if those 40 grandchildren had likewise average 5 children each, right? There would be 200 great grandchildren, and this woman here would be alive to see her 200 great grandchildren. But instead, how many does she have? 6. 6, right? Well, I'll tell you what's going on is the interference with the reproduction. The government's interfering with the reproduction, and this is just one family that we personally know, and this it's I'm shocked and then everybody's going to read this obituary. Oh, she was a nice woman and all this stuff, and the takeaway is that she was a nice woman, and we she's truly going to be missed by her 6 great. I imagine the 6, not 16, not 16, not the 60, right? 6 great grandchildren. What's going on here? She had 8 children, and she has 6 great grandchildren, right? Imagine how this interference with reproduction, right? This is a clear, not only the interference with the reproduction, but they are basically creating, they are brainwashing the people to interfere with their own reproduction, but and they're giving them the tools to do it. They're giving them the propaganda. They're giving them the government is basically irresponsible for this, right? This is the government is a huge problem, right? And I moved away to a different country, right? I moved away and because of this reason. This is the reason that I moved away because I, imagine me as a patriarch, or whatever. Yeah, I get 7 kids, right? So this lady had 8, right? So let's say, for example, my 7 kids, right? So she's 8. Let's say, for example, I have like, 2 great grandchildren, or 1 great grand, or 0 great grandchildren. Right? That's what the government is essentially doing, right? It's not only interfering with reproduction, but eliminating the reproductive, capacity of a family, right? This is extremely, like I said, ghastly, right? This is a well, I mean, can you how do we not call this genocide, right? How do we actually not do this, right? How do we not call this genocide? That's what I'm thinking. Like, how can do you see any other term for this? Interfering with reproduction is, you know, if you see look at the Rome Statute, that's exactly what it says, right? Interfering with the reproductive, um, capacities of families, right? This is exactly what genocide is. How is this not genocide? I cannot put it to you any plainer, right? It is very, very concerning, right? Very concerning to the point where, the civilization, this is a civilizational issue. It's that big of a deal, right? It's that big of a deal, right? This is just one obituary. This is just one obituary, and if you continue to look, you'll see this all over the place. And this is just one obituary, right? This lady should have had, you know, 60 great grandchildren, but she has 6, you know. And we do know of some actually surgical abortion, which is ghastly, absolutely ghastly. Ah, man, this is a ghastly, ghastly thing. Ah, I cannot think of anything more serious than this here. Yeah, and it says, oh, maybe it has. This report says, oh, maybe there has, miscarriages and infertility. No, 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 no. There's not a thing like that. There's no miscarriages. There's no infertility. There's feminism, right? Of blocking marriages. There's contraceptive. There's abortion. There's no I mean, maybe there is, but most likely not. Most likely the government is coming in and interfering with the reproductive systems, the reproductive capacity of a family, right? The actually, making a healthy woman, right? She's perfectly healthy. Like, imagine a young, healthy woman goes to a doctor and they get a pill not to cure an illness, right? To make herself completely sick, right? It debilitates her into not being able to have children. It's truly, truly mind blowing. Everybody thinks this is normal, right? That's the worst part about it. And everybody thinks it's normal. Whatever. I mean, anyway, that's the report for today. This is the report documenting one real family. All right, we didn't include the names, but it certainly is true, right? All right, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.